invocation, pledge of allegiance. Mr. Mayor.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing each and every one of us to wake up this morning. Father, I ask you to look over these children in the borough of Rochester. I ask you to touch the hearts of each and every individual in council and making the right decisions for this borough. In your name's sake, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mr. Bear.
Mr. White.
Here.
Mr. Naples.
Here.
Mr. Brothers.
Here.
Mrs. Short.
Here.
Mrs. Dietrich.
Here.
Mr. Rader.
Here.
Mr. Becker is not here. Mr. Howe. Here. Mayor Jackson.
Here.
Mr. Raybeck. Here. Chief Mercier.
Here.
Code Officer Brooks.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Going to our agenda. Number 2 on the agenda, persons in attendance. We're going to combine on the agenda part 4, the C section with the attendance of Mr. Douglas and everybody from the about the water plan or sewer plan and everything to give their presentation, let us know what's what there. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Greg Douglas. I'm the solicitor for the Rochester Area Joint Sewer Authority. I was at the July meeting to make a request that the authority be able to temporarily store the fill from the construction site on the borough's property down there. Mayor Jackson asked for the laboratory analysis for the soil samples. We have that for you tonight. And I brought with me Mr. Steve Gerritsen. He is an environmental engineer with SE Technologies. And he is the engineer that we've engaged to handle all this environmental stuff, pardon me for calling it stuff. But he's the technical expert. We've conducted a lot of soil sampling down there. Only half of what we originally thought we were going to have to manage in accordance with the regulations is there right now. What we're asking you tonight, we provided you a letter to DEP which would authorize the sewer authority to temporarily store the fill on the borough property. So at the end of the day, if you're satisfied with that, the action we're going to ask you to take is to approve that letter. I've given Mayor Jackson the full 118-page catalog with all the exhibits. I've got summaries for the rest of the Borough Council. You'll be happy to hear, are much shorter than the mayor's version. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Gerritsen and ask him to give you a short summary of what we're asking for and answer any of your questions.
Okay, Steve Gerritsen. He calls me an engineer. I'm actually a principal hydrogeologist. So I'm not a PE, I'm a PG. Acronyms matter in this game, just so that's clear. But what we're talking about is material that's going to be derived through excavation during construction of the wastewater treatment plant. Okay, and why does that matter? DEP is always concerned with fill material, particularly along the rivers within the whole region. I mean, this whole region, if you look back years and years and years ago, the rivers were a lot lower before they were locked. They were really steeply sloped. For development along the rivers through time, and this is in the late 1800s, they had to build them up with material. Material a lot of times was derived from industry material or whatever it was that there was local that they could use, raise it up so that they could develop on it. That's what they term now it's the coined phrase. If you end up reading any of the documents that we send you, it's the phrase is used in DEP is historic fill, and it could be consisting of bricks, slag, glass, rock, all kinds of different heterogeneous material, not similar to the natural soil. So that's really what we're dealing with here at this site, and through the construction of the wastewater plant construction activities, they're going to be going down 10, 15, 20 feet. The area where you're all familiar with that area is a small postage stamp. You can't go high, you got to go down. So what we're looking at is total excavations about 20,000 cubic yards, but 10,000 of that is natural soil. That's the natural soil that was there since the beginning of time. That soil, we've already worked with DEP and have it, because that material is deemed clean. So through construction, once we get down to that material we can manage it just like any other construction project. The only material that we're talking about is the fill material that's on top of the surface. And it's about ranges in depth based on the geotechnical borings, 3 to 6 feet. And so that material is going to be derived from the wastewater treatment plant property, and our proposal is to temporarily store it onto the borough property, which is 100 to 300 feet away. Essentially, the material underneath the borough property is the same material. It was all placed at the same time. So the question is, does it impose additional risk for the borough, taking that material and putting it there? How could it, whenever it's basically it's the same type of material that that is already under it? And there's a concrete pad, there's concrete all over it and everything like that. But that gets into the details of doing with DEP. So, you know, and on top of that, going back to the analytics that Mr. Douglas had referenced, we do have analytical data. It's in the plan that we have been approved by DEP. It gives you an array of the analytical data. There is some exceedances of some standards, and there's colors in the tables. If you look at them, it looks, I do that because it's easy to interpret that. And they also, but that makes you wonder what's going on. These are numbers that are that characterize it so that we have to manage it. If the numbers, if there wasn't any exceedance of particular criteria, then it would be deemed, we wouldn't be here right now. We could do with it what we wanted to. But we're over these very low numbers that DEP derives, and so we have to appropriately manage it. Appropriate is within the sphere, temporarily storing it onto the borough property for the time until we are able to define either a home under another program in the state of Pennsylvania for an active site, or if we need to take it to a landfill. That's where we need to have time to do that, and we need to have a lot of, you know, we're going to do some additional sampling and some additional characterization also to make that final decision as to what we need to do.
That's a question. This arsenic in this cadmium on PA DEP Act 2 MSCS Table 3.
Yes.
This arsenic, can it cause cancer, lungs, bladder, kidneys?
The numbers that are referenced to Act 2 MSCs are based on residential and non-residential settings. There is some exceedances of the residential standard. Regular numerical standards in any state, derived from first off the EPA and then states, they adopt them. They're based upon the time of exposure. Okay, a residential exposure scenario is 70 years, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week exposure. The number is going to be low. The next step up is going to a commercial industrial exposure, which is 40. So excuse me, I don't mean to get too technical, but this is the answer to the question. The numbers that we have some exceedances of some of the residential standards. The property in the borough property is not going to be used for residential. Is the understanding.
Okay, but you're saying this is for a commercial area. He was talking about residential areas.
No, the numbers that you see of exceedances are for the residential standards, as opposed to the non-residential standards.
Okay, but we're actually going to be talking about commercial areas.
Yes.
Okay, but there's a difference between the residential and commercial. The commercial, as you were saying, it says here arsenic and stuff. Isn't arsenic is what's found in pesticides? Could it be a high risk in heart disease?
The numbers of the arsenic exceedances on this table here, which is table 3 in the package, is in yellow, and it exceeds only the residential standards, not the non-residential standards. So it's below the standards for commercial and industrial use.
But that's you said 5 to 6 feet.
I'm sorry?
That, you said 5 to 6 feet is where the contamination would be. But you're going deeper than the 5 to 6 feet, aren't you?
Oh, below 5 or 6 feet is when you get into the natural soil. Because there's fill material on the natural soil. Below that is the natural soil, and that stuff is deemed clean because it's just natural soil. There hasn't been, the only source, the source of arsenic would be attributed to the fill that was placed there. Brought onto the site, placed compacted to bring up grades for development. Below that is the natural soil, and the natural soil by DEP as approved is clean. That material is going to be managed differently.
The clean material?
The clean
Oh,
material.
yes.
And that's not going to be placed there. So only the historic fill material that was placed there in the mid-1800s is going to be, that's going to be excavated the wastewater treatment plant area. So only half of it, top half of the soil, for example.
Okay, the other question I have, how long is this field going to be sitting on top of the ground that you're planning on storing?
DEP regulation is 1 year. Now, the length of the construction work is 2 years. So we're gonna have to work something out with DEP. We can't do that until we go into them for a permit, which is what we need your letter from.
Okay, the other thing, now you can guarantee that this arsenic will not harm the Borough of Rochester people?
The number, we go by numbers. It will be below the standards, or we will not be able to manage it in this case. Everything goes by numbers.
Okay.
And if we're below the numbers, then we have to look at alternates.
Are there
If we're
different-
above the numbers, then we have to, so.
Is there different table scales for children and adults with this arsenic?
The numbers that they typically use as generic numbers for residential it takes into account, doesn't differentiate between children and adults, and so therefore it would be looking more conservative. And I don't know, I'm not a toxicologist, but they're derived to be protective of the populace, which would include children and adults.
Okay, that's all I have.
Contaminant would not be airborne, right? You'd have to be playing in that dirt to actually be affected by
Yes.
arsenic. So
And it'd be, and again,
it's not like
all,
people just walking by are going to get infected. You have to go in and play in that dirt.
Yes.
And I'm sure it would take repeated times for it to even become any
The-
concern.
the calculations derived, they use to drive those numbers are for continuous application to the body over 70 years, 24 hours a day, for 7 days a week. Very, 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 very conservative applications.
You from the paper.
I think it's critical to call attention to the correspondence and enclosure dated August 8th by Attorney Douglas to Mayor Jackson, and Mr. Rader and Mr. Barrett was copied as well as me. And I want to quote in pertinent part: "The fill material that we would store on borough property does not represent any risk to human health." I think that's critical. Also, significantly, the sampling did not disclose the presence of any hazardous materials on our site. Have I quoted that correctly?
That is correct, and Mr. Garrettson can verify that also.
I don't really need
Yes.
an analysis, because we're going to land up with a paralysis of the analysis that most of us will not understand. But do you agree with that? And,
Yes, I do.
And your research and due diligence supports those conclusions?
Yes.
Also, maybe I'm trying to understand what your group is after, Mr. Douglas. What is this?
That is a letter of authorization from the borough to the sewer authority to temporarily store this regulated fill on the borough's property.
All right, who drafted this?
Our other engineer, Eric Tissue from KLH, drafted it.
My only concern is I suppose my inquiry is, it says Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. Is that to whom you're sending this?
Yes.
Okay. I just have one concern that somewhere, there should be a sentence by which your authority holds us harmless for anything that might occur. And we certainly want some proof, either by statement or policy, that your carrier will cover any liability that would occur there. Can you do that?
We can certainly give you a hold harmless letter. We'd have to contact our insurance company.
Well, I just want to make sure that there's no dispute should something happen. You see what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely. Would a hold harmless letter from us be
Yes.
satisfactory?
Yes.
Okay. We meet on Thursday, so if you want to make that a condition of your approval, we'll have that for you after the meeting.
That would be part of the approval.
Yeah.
In other words, I have no legal objection to this particular correspondence on the condition that a hold harmless letter is sent us.
Okay,
Is that agreeable to you?
certainly.
So I would recommend to council, in light of the representations made, that a motion be made approving this particular drafted correspondence with the provision that a hold harmless letter will be sent to us after your meeting. That's it. Whether you want to pass that motion or not, I've tried to expedite this.
Before, I want to add one more thing, is that, Mayor Jackson, whenever you read, if you read through that plan has not been implemented yet. That plan offers, we're going to be doing a lot more additional borings and sampling on the property, and it's required by DEP to further support our overall strategy on this. And so we're going to have even a lot more analytical data than is presented in that plan.
Then you would be updating us.
I will be
also.
updating, absolutely. It's going to, our plan is that it's going to support our position and strengthen our position to, facilitate this.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the? Okay, I need to entertain a motion then to accept the letter from the Rochester Area Joint Sewer Authority that they will be sending to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, and also to include that hold harmless letter along with this. And
I'll make the motion.
okay, Ms. Short, and there's a second. Mr. Howell, any questions on the motion? I'll have a roll call on this one.
Mrs. White?
Yes.
Mr. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Brothers?
Yes.
Mrs. Short?
Yes.
Mrs. Dietrich? Yes. Mr. Howell? Yes. Mr. Reader?
Yes.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
We will keep you in the loop on all this. We're very mindful that you're the property owner and we're storing this soil on your property, so we'll keep you in the loop for all the technical and analytical stuff going forward.
Thank you. Okay. That was harmless, huh?
Safe trip back.
Yeah, stay safe.
Y'all have a good night.
Thank you, you too. Okay, back to the persons in attendance. Anybody else have anything to say?
Brought this up before, I said, can the road department come up and do something with that alley behind Bachelor and Park? Grade it, do something, there's big ruts in it.
Which, is there a
You
name
know where I
on?
live.
Yeah.
The alley right behind.
Is there a name on, I don't know.
There's no name on
We-
that.
Things are scheduled to get done, as soon as they're done doing the main roads and stuff.
They said it wasn't on the list.
And it wasn't, I drove through it and I gave the alley to our public works guy. He's been working on the playground up there. He had to tear out all the old mulch and put in plastic and mulch. And he's doing it by himself, so it's taking time. But we'll get on that alley as soon as.
Yeah, I don't know if Marjorie brought up about the signs.
I emailed.
Did you?
Yes.
That's all I have.
The sign is at the bottom of Bachelor. I'm not sure if that's a township.
No, that's, where the signs are at is the borough.
Street name sign?
The street name sign, they're all padded on like somebody hit them with a brick or something. If you don't get them fixed, they're gonna just disappear. Oh, another thing. When you put in the paper about TVs, I drive down the street, there's 3 or 4 TVs sitting on the curb. The trash man, I'm gonna take them. They'll sit there forever. People just don't wanna pay the $35 to take them on a graded run.
Can we see him on the street, can somebody come down? Go to, yeah, or
Yeah,
even note,
I just got rid of 2 down on Jackson Street, so.
even note on the door.
Going down the hill.
I don't know if Dawn told you about people running that stop sign on.
Yeah.
Almost got hit again tonight.
Where's that in?
Pennsylvania and, Deer Lane.
Deer Lane?
I went to pull out today and got come right to the stop sign.
People want to watch it, thought it, same thing down there. Okay, sir.
Hello, my name's Gene Zook, and about 20 years ago, I tried to give the brewery a go in a restoration, and it didn't work out. Reason I'm here is the chlorine problem down there. I saw it in the news, and my experience, when I first came to Rochester back in the late 90s with my idea, my concerns were Reno Scrapyard and Davidson's chemical business. And I was told that Rocco, he donated the property. He did a preliminary study and everything came back good. I have the preliminary study. And I was given the go-ahead to go ahead. And it turns out it was loaded with cancer causing carcinogens, just millions and millions of dollars it would cost. And the YMCA committed to the property, and they were awarded, Parisi got $2 million from the state for that site. Riverfront development money, he took it over to New Brighton on Junction Stretch in a floodplain that he had to add like 20 feet of fill. He didn't need fill down there. Anyway, I have a report that the site was approved for remediation sometime in '99, and Parisi didn't decide to leave until 2000. So it was in the works to clean up. He split. Well, that's one footnote of the chapter. The second footnote is Davidson. I was told that those chemicals were harmless and it'd be a miscellaneous expense to get rid of them. And when I first went down there was a broken window on that. That's the bottling house. It's a shame it's gone, but I envisioned a German precision manufacturing bottling line going in there. That's neither here nor there. I stuck my head into the broken window. There's all kinds of barrels in there. And, you know, and after you take a breath, and it was like, and my lungs were like scorched. Took like 2 months for that to go away. Still cool, everything's cool. So anyway, part of my own fault, it didn't work out, and I believe there was some saboteurs operating around me. Anyway, that didn't work out. And chlorine just doesn't burn. You need turpentine and ammonia to make it ignite. It's mustard gas. And the Germans used it. It wasn't called chlorine, it was called mustard gas. And they wouldn't launch a mustard gas attack unless the wind was blowing towards the Allies. And that night, that mustard cloud, when I saw it, it was almost going up to the clouds. No wind, yellow as heck, you know. that would have blown that cloud into that hill of Rochester. I don't know. I don't have a chemical engineering degree, but I know chemistry 101. And I'm thinking a good chemist wouldn't store ammonia and turpentine with the chlorine. And even if it would have got mixed, how do you mix up all the barrels for them to ignite? They won't ignite each other. Like I say, chemistry 101, I don't have a chemical engineering degree. I'm just saying, from the day I came down here, to try to do something good for this town, because my great-grandmother's Margaret Whiteleather, she had a beauty salon right across from the hospital for 50 years, a woman entrepreneur, because my great-grandfather had his legs cut off down Conway, no money. And the one was cut off, he lost the other, gangrene. My great-grandmother, for 50 years, cut all the ladies in the community's hair. And I love this town. My question though is there a chance that building could be torn down?
I believe right now, everything's in the hands of DEP, still taking care of that. Don't we have a meeting, I think Thursday, at least with the fire departments and everything, to discuss?
That property is not the borough's. So we don't have any control.
I would recommend that probably the best site in all of West Sylvania, and you might want to move to eminent domain, that site. I'm not here for monetary reasons. I worked for US Air for 23 and a half years. I crisscrossed this country since I was 20 years old. It was 43 and a half. I visited over 20 breweries in the 80s before I got enough data to do the idea. I launched Zookies officially in 93. I was down here in 94 with the idea. I went public in 95. They knew I didn't have the resources. It was a plan where I had to coordinate the public sector with the private sector. I had $2 million of unsolicited investors ready to go. But Jim Palmer, he doesn't say much. He's a hard man to read.
Yeah, but like we said, we have no control.
I'm saying, don't let that building be torn down, gentlemen. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hook.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? No? Speak now, Farrell, please.
I'd like to ask Peggy, when are they gonna do the walls?
Yeah, I left a message with Miss.
It's been 2 months
Miss
since I talked.
Lively. Yeah, I apologize. That is my fault because I've been wrapped up on things. So I will try to get a hold of, what is that, the passive vent home on the other one?
Yeah.
And see what he's gonna do.
And
I'll probably
I
get
don't know his name. The apartment building. I don't know.
That's the one, Miss Lively. That's the one I left her another message. I just didn't get a call back from her.
Okay.
And I put it on here to do that.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Should I introduce myself? I've been around for about 2.5 years, and my first meeting tonight. I am the new pastor at the Free Methodist Church up the street. So I'm just here to pay attention to what's going on in Rochester to see how we can help and just make the place better. So I haven't met a lot of you, and I know a few, but that's just who I am. So that way, when you're looking at my ugly mug, you have an understanding of who that guy is.
It's any uglier than some of them up here, so especially this one. So, welcome.
Well, thank you.
Okay. I know, Zach, you want to mention anything while you're here? Or you want me to read the letter that you?
Sure, you can read it.
Said? Okay. If anybody remembers Zach, he was here, I think, last year when he sat in and everything. But now that we have a position open here in the borough, said Mr. Burke, and his dear council members, I'm writing today to apply for the open position on the Rochester Borough Building and Zoning Board. I've been a resident of Rochester Borough since 2018, investing my time and money improving my property and the economy of Beaver County as a whole. He graduated from Robert Morris University in 2015 with a degree in finance. Since 2015, he has been working for various businesses as an IT consultant, implementing various businesses, process modernization programs to improve organizational efficiency and profitability. I love the opportunity to get involved with our local government and help improve the local economy and safety for our community here in Rochester. I believe that my work experience and education have adequately prepared me for the responsibility of holding a position on the Rochester Borough Building and Zoning Board. I would have had a hard copy, but someone can't figure out how to print it out off their phone. But
And it's
Yeah.
actually for the planning.
Planning Commission. So, that's what Mr. Burke's here for.
Is the spot for the planning commission?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so right now, need to entertain a motion to,
I'll make the motion.
Morris makes the motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second? Huh? Yeah, that's a legion. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
You asked for it.
I hope you keep me busy.
Chunky pass. Okay.
Call China first.
Okay, we got anything else out there? All right, we'll move on. Number 3 on the agenda, need to entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the rescheduled regular meeting, which was held on July 29, 2019.
Motion.
Randy makes the motion. Ms. Short, any questions on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay, so. Okay, items for council's consideration and actions. Before you in your packet, you have the bills. I need to entertain a motion to approve, to pay all approved bills. Mr. Brothers, is there a second? Mr. Knaven, any questions on it? All in favor? Also in your packet, you received a cover letter from the Dan McGowan and Company appraisal showing the market value of $335,000 and the insured value of $447,000 of the Martino property located at 425 Railroad Street. Appraisal is conducted to determine a possible sale price for the council and sewer authority board to consider to house a new public works facility.
Also, everybody's site, everybody's seat, I put a copy of an email I received from Frank Dodson, chairman of the sewer authority. Their board met Tuesday night. They approved going 50-50 with the borough in purchasing that property if council is so willing to move forward with that. You know, that the cost of the appraisal, the value of the appraisal showed $335,000. So the sewer authority's on board if you want to consider that.
Yes, I need to entertain a motion to accept the appraisal that McGowan and Company put out for those two prices. Yeah. The market value and the insured
Would be
value.
to make an offer.
To make an offer to, okay.
That's to make an offer, not
To make an offer.
To make an offer.
It would be
on that
half, the
property.
$335,000 would be split 50/50.
Yeah. We get half and the sewer authority get half. Mr. Brothers makes the motion. Do I have a second? Motion is to
Make an offer.
of the prices that we got. Huh? Not locked in, that's just
making an offer.
making an offer, yeah.
Get it cheaper or whatever.
Yeah. Ms. Short? Are there any other questions on the motion? All in favor? Any against? Okay. We did see already on the agenda, Mr. Douglas and the other guy for the property. Moving on to 5, items for council's review and discussion. Before you, you have received for our review the minutes of the July 11th Rochester Area Joint Sewer Authority meeting. Also, you have the meeting notes of the July 8th Rochester Borough Development Corporation meeting. And I do believe in that they did say a very good job that was done during the event down on Brighton Avenue with the EMS appreciation. Just want we can keep that going and make it even bigger next year. You'll remember at the same time that group had the car cruise and everything in the old Kmart parking lot. I think that went real well. You tie all that in together eventually, even better. Also, in your packet, you received the review July 2019 Fire Department report. So a little interesting thing to look at. Including average. We're all has-beens, Robbie. Okay. Moving on here. 6, committee reports, public administration. Mr. Becker's not here. Anybody pick up anything from him? He didn't say anything to me. No. Okay, public safety, Mr. Knaefel.
I've got a couple things, and Frank, you'll probably be involved in this. Cars left in the alley, supposed to be towed away, still there for months. I got another one parked in the yard for 3 summers now, has never started to move. That's right next door to me.
That's right beside you, the truck.
It's just coming, you know, that's on top of planks we put down on the side on the roads, and which we just have to time temporarily. But some of that stuff we get cleaned up to give me a hand here.
All right. Take care.
I'm good.
It'd be more or less abandoned vehicles, or?
No, this sign, I think,
Truck
is,
and yard, been there for years, it just sits there.
every time I ask him about it, he says, well, I'm rebuilding it, and he hasn't touched it for years.
Sounds like what's that guy over there on Cassuth Street? Building a shed for how many years? Okay. Okay, you said that's it then, Mark, right? Moving on, Public Works, Mr. Howe.
I'll refer to Mr. Mayor.
We got 18 applications for the opening for our Public Works employees position. I was gonna see if we can get the Public Works Committee and possibly Public Administration Committee to meet, go through the applications, wean it down to the top 3 to 5 applicants, have interviews with them, and then make a recommendation on best qualified applicant that we have to council for consideration. We do have, there's 3 or 4 pretty decent applicants, so we should have a good opportunity to pick up somebody with some experience already, so that'll be a plus. But that is what I would ask, is that the 2 committees meet with me and start that process to build a recommendation for the council. okay with the board doing that.
Megan?
I didn't hear what he said.
Okay, we got 18 applicants for the spot for the,
I didn't hear what Howard said.
public work, pardon?
I didn't hear what Howard said.
Oh, he said just set a date, you know, and then,
Sorry.
you know, instead of just
For the meeting.
letting it roll, he said set a date to get this done and over with, you know, so, you know. John said he has a couple of really good ones, so. Board have anything against them just throwing a day out there for you guys to get together? Set a date. Get it done and over with. Guys, we need to know.
That's all I have.
Good. Okay. Recreation, Ms. Teacher? Nothing? Okay. Moving on. Number 7, mayor's report.
Yes, the only thing I have to talk about is, I had a couple calls from people that were complaining about the street sweeping, that they were getting tickets on their vehicles, and the street sweepers never come down their streets.
I just got one thing to say on that. It's been that way for years and years and years. You got a sign out front saying no parking, so obey the ordinance, whether they come or not. I always got stuck, you know. I even told them years ago when I was in the fire department, I'm not gonna move my car on that Monday night if I get a call. I'm not gonna run 2 blocks to, I won't be able to go fight a fire, so.
That's all I have to say.
Okay. True, chief? Right?
True.
Okay. Just want you to back me up there, bud.
Yeah, there's a borough ordinance and it says move your car between this time and this time.
All right.
We don't know, I will tell you, the police department doesn't know if it runs or not, I mean, the sewer authority.
Yeah.
So,
Most every other community does the same thing. There's just no parking on that day. It's for when we do meet. It's not guaranteed that we do that every
But
week.
it's there, you got a sign saying no parking. It's all parking. Solicitor's report, Mr. Ravy. Nothing. Kidding.
I'm on this.
Okay. Code officer's report.
I don't have anything to add to my report,
Okay.
unless you have questions.
Any questions on, the thing? Anything? Everything is pretty well self-explanatory. Some of them surprised myself to say. Police chief's report.
I have 2 reports. In front of all of you have the code enforcement report from July 16th to August 19th, 2019. If anybody has any questions on that report, I'll be glad to answer. Also in front of you have the monthly report for July 2019. Police Department handled 1,093 calls for service. All the fines and forfeitures are there for you to take a look at. I'd like to submit the report. Any questions on that report? I'll be glad to answer. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Do you have any questions for chief? Nothing? All right. Moving on. Manager treasurer's report, Mr. Barrett.
Everybody received the July treasurer's report. If anybody has any questions, I'll be try and answer them. No answer or no questions. The next item was Heart and Soul, Community Heart and Soul Program. The Orton Family Foundation is funding this program, and they're reaching out to Beaver County. They currently don't offer this program in Beaver County. So we have a meeting, the Planning Commission, the Beaver County Planning Commission set it up. Anybody interested in applying to become a member in this program, which opens up opportunities for some grant money, had to attend a meeting that County Planning Commission set up with the Heart and Soul people in the Pennsylvania Humanities Commission. There was only, I believe, 7 communities that attended that meeting. And they're going to pick 3 of the 7 to be awarded this designation to become a member of that program. I gave you guys information on it. Hopefully you had a chance to read over it. Basically is they're looking to have the community start this program and work towards having resident-driven action. They want the community to be involved with decision-making, not at the lowest level, but for the how you want to see the borough in the future. What things are important to the community to preserve, what may not be so important. Activities that may be important that are missing. They really want to start having these resident-driven programs out there to involve them. So many times, communities will update their comprehensive plan. And that plan is supposed to be what you envision your community going forward in the future. Everybody always hires a consultant. The consultant holds public meetings. Half a dozen people come to the meetings. They say a few things, and the consultant goes in and puts everything together and presents a plan. So it's really not engaging the residents like this program wants to see. What I'd like to do is see if council is interested in applying for this and possibly becoming a community heart and soul member. The Rochester Borough Development Corporation is interested in partnering with the council to administer this program. And each community that's awarded this is eligible for $50,000 over a 2-year period. And those monies can go towards funding activities, funding those sessions where you're trying to involve residents, if you want to have refreshments or whatever. They said you can also use the funds to even hire some staffing to keep the process moving. So many municipal staffs are already overwhelmed, so they've allowed these monies to also be spent for some staffing. So it's just whether council is interested in having the program come in, because they're looking for the community to be behind this. The community, the council, the community leaders aren't going to really be behind it, support it, then it's basically going to be set up for failure typically. So they want to see that you're behind it. There's an application that has to be put in by the end of September. Maria Longo from Development Corporation and I went to that meeting. We would be the ones to sit down, fill the application out on the borough's behalf and submit it. I think we would be one of the 3. So if you want to do it, I think we'll get it. If you really don't want to do it, don't say, yeah, go ahead and apply, because I think we're going to get it. If you're not behind it, let's not waste everybody's time. We apply for this and get it, and then we're not really supporting it. Like I said, I hope everybody had a chance to read over some of the material there. It explains the Heart and Soul program a little better. I think it would be of value to have that. I think there is something missing in our community. It's also meant to bring the residents together to build relationships. And they say if you meet somebody and you know their name, you get to know them a little bit, then you tend to want to help that person if they need help. So many people are just sort of staying away from others and just losing that community feel, the community relationships that make the community strong by helping each other when they need some help, whether it's cutting their grass, or running to the store, or those kind of things, that they're hoping this program will generate that kind of community interest in each other. It's not necessarily just, do we need a skateboard park or a basketball court? It's about building a relationship with the residents and having that sense of community, which seems to be lost anymore. Many communities just don't have it, whether it's all the electronics in everybody's lives or whatever, but you're losing volunteers, you're losing talking to your neighbors, and they want to see that come back. And that's why the Orton Family Foundation is funding this program. They believe it's important for the communities and for our country. I'd like to see everybody start moving back to that way it used to be a little bit. So with that said, it's council's interested, we can submit that application and get that process started, or if you're not, then we can just, yeah, we need a motion to approve submitting that application.
I thought you had to attend the meeting.
Yeah, we did.
Oh.
Yeah, the meeting was last week, and Maria Longo from Development Corporation and I attended it, so we're eligible to submit the application.
Okay, so what I need to do is entertain a motion for the borough to become part of this heart and soul. I think it's a good thing.
I'll make the motion.
Marge?
I'll second.
Second by Marty. Any more questions on it? Now, is there going to be another meeting that you have to turn that application in at, or if you have that and everything now?
Yeah, we have the application submitted, and it's actually a pretty simple application. So we just fill it out, submit it, and then wait to hear if we've been selected.
Okay. All right. Okay. We have a roll call on this one.
Roll call. Mrs. White?
Yes.
Mr. Tenavia? Mr. Brother? Mrs. Short? Mrs. Dietrich?
Yes.
Mr. Raker?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. That's a good thing.
One item that's not on the list, is everybody's place. I just got in the mail Friday or today our agreement with PennDOT for winter snow removal expires this year, so they need a new agreement. What that is they pay us money to salt and plow their streets for them. We help them. I mean, they still come through themselves, but they rely on us a little more to get onto it as needed because they have just so many roads. The agreement is basically the same as what it has been. It's a 5-year agreement. First year's payment went up, it was about $180 from last year. It was in one of these papers. It's a little over $11,000 the borough would receive 2019, 2020 winter season. Typically get it next year. And then we'll get roughly that same amount or possibly a little more each year for the next 5 years under this agreement. They said they don't set the amount for each year. They do that each year independently based on some calculation of snow, how many times that they feel we had to go out and salt and plow. It's some calculation that we probably need a doctorate degree in mathematics to figure out. Bottom line is we do get funding from them to do those things. It benefits our community because we're here, we can be more responsive when the road is slippery or needs plowed rather than waiting half an hour for a PennDOT truck to come if we are able to even get in touch with somebody, so. I think it's beneficial, we've done it in the past, it works. I would recommend that we approve the new agreement. The resolution that went along with that, you had a copy of it as well, just authorizing the signers for the contract. Like I said, it would be a 5-year contract that we would be getting into.
You want to identify that resolution?
Yeah, the resolution is 2019-01. Like I said, it's designating the authorized signers for this agreement.
Need a motion, need to entertain a motion to accept PennDOT's
Split resolution of the
2019-1 to accept that resolution. Mr. Brothers? Mr. Knaple? All in favor? So be it.
That's all I had, thank you.
Old business.
I do. Questions about the library, the roof, John, the roof for the library. Any updates on a bid?
Yeah, the roofer I had go up there, he said he would give me an estimate to take care of the tin parts, repairing them and repainting them, but he hasn't got back to me. I know he's been swamped. But that's the next step, is to try and get somebody in there to take care of that.
Okay.
I'll keep pestering him and try and get that done.
Okay, we were on a walk a couple Saturdays ago. The outside of that library, on the side, a lot of sumac trees and so forth. I saw them down there cutting the grass and that today, which wasn't too bad. But if we could get them, Keith, if we could get a volunteer group together on a Saturday to clean that library out, and if we put everything by the curb, the borough would come in and haul.
That's the outside?
Yeah. If we get a group of us from the library or from here also,
Probably from the library.
but we could clean that up. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That sounds good. You can get some people to clean that up and just put it in bags or stack it.
Do you have a date set for that?
No, we'll work on that. The front doesn't look bad, but the sides are bad.
Anything else under old business? Any new business? No? Let's leave one more thing. Need to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Ms. Stewart, is there a second? Mr. Brothers. Thank you, everybody.